how the music corresponds to the Contra dance. Contra dance is a derivative American form. They don't do Contra dance really in the UK anymore, even though much of Contra dance has evolved from the folk dances in Scotland and Ireland and Wales and England and so forth. It's sort of related to the early, let's say, ceilidh dances in Scotland and Ireland, in which you would have figures that would be stepped. So the early ceilidh dances worked on 8-bar phrases. So if I play a melody, for example, and I'll just play 8 measures. So 1, 2. So it's counted as left, right, left, right. So we have like 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 2, 4, 2, 5, 2, 6, 2, 7, 2, 8, 2. That's what I just played there with that melody. So the percussive dance steps that people have devised would work on the same pattern. So for example, and I'm not a step dancer, so I'm not actually going to show something that is correct or accurate, but roughly speaking, it would be like this. It would be like, the tempo would be da, da, da. So it'd be like da, 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 and it would progress 4, 2, 5, 2, 6, 2, 7, 2, 8, 2. And so then in the percussion, they will have moved, and that would have taken exactly 8 measures, or 8 bars. Then the mirror image of that pattern would be then dance. So instead of over here crossing like right foot over left and going on all the patterns, it would be left foot over right, the mirror image of all of that pattern, getting back to the original spot on 7, 2, 8, 2. So that makes 2 sets of 8 measures, and that would be called a step. And that's the way it's still done with the Irish step dancing and the ceilidh dancing and so forth. It would be that that one step is 2 sets of 8s. So in that melody that I just played, it would be, I'll play that same thing again. We call it an A part or an A1, and it sounds once again like this. And then that would be repeated to do the return. So, and altogether that would be 16 bars, and then it would be typical to devise another step, as it were, and so another whole combination of percussive footwork with an 8-bar approach. Like for example, it would be maybe going forward instead of to the side, and so for that 8 bars it would be going up and then returning to the original spot for the next 8 bars, and typically that would be different music. So for example, in the tune I was just playing, it goes on, it goes that was 5, 6, it was like 5, 2, 2, 2, 2, and then 7, 2, 8, 2, and then that would be repeated for the return. So okay, so then altogether we have 4 8s. The first 8 was, let's say, to the side. Second 8 was returning. Third 8 was forward, for example, and then the final 8 was returning. And so we've come to label those maneuvers as parts, A part, B part, and in Contra dance we tend to call them A1 and A2, and then there's the B1 and B2, so those are the repeats. So A2 is the repeat of A1 and so forth. And many of the British Isles dance patterns have evolved on that model of just always 8 and 8 and then 8 and 8. And very occasionally there will be a third step that's added, so there would be 2 more 8s, but everything's 8s, just always 8s. In the Contra dance world, which is a derivative form, that's kind of our American version. It's a compilation of a lot of different influences from different parts of the UK, and then also other parts of the world too, have kind of found their, made their mark on the present day American Contra dance. And 32 measures is always the magic formula. 32 is 4 sets of 8s, and that's absolutely the vital part of Contra dance that needs to be understood. So when a musician chooses the material to play for a dance, one needs to make sure that the tune in question is always complying with that 32 measure form.